How to get discovered on search engines. Search engines are your best friends. And today we're going to talk about why search engines are your best friends online. What's up, Luann? How are you? Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Lucero, Tina, Judith, Wayne, Vladimir, I hope I said it correctly. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited. We're going to talk about some really amazing details that's going to help us learn more about how we can be found on search engines. How can we get discovered? Why are we even being discovered? And what happens? We're going to discuss all that today. And if you're here listening for the first time, for those who are getting to know me, or this is your first time you're listening to me, my name is Favour, Obasi-ike, and I help business owners, entrepreneurs, creators like you understand why your website is important and specialize specifically in strategic technical setups that allow you to use SEO, which is search engine optimization, or now search everywhere optimization, by creating and scaling your branded website for visibility, both within traditional search engines like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, that's social media, Pinterest, YouTube, Yandex. There are many search engines out there to be available, plus AI search engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Meta AI, Grok. There are many out there too. So how do we build all these search engines together, and how do they talk to each other from your website? So that's what we do. And also, I'm the founder of Work and Play Entertainment, which is also housed with WeDon'tPlayPodcast.com, which is the podcast show that I run. And we have over 660 episodes now and counting. So it's like, wow, it's getting closer to 700 now officially. I'm excited because a lot of people are listening in and they are learning about SEO in a new way. And it's also teaching them about what they don't know that I could bring to them, so they can understand what they're paying for, what they're investing in, what they're actually doing with their websites, and also what they're creating for their businesses. Now, with search engines, for you to get discovered, you have to build trust. That's the first thing. You have to build trust online, and that trust is built through links, it's built through relationships, it's built through tags, hashtags, it's built through community, it's built through pages, web pages. And these web pages are links that we click on that lead us to websites that we visit. We can be a new visitor, we can be a returning visitor, but we're technically visiting websites daily. We go to Google, we go to ChatGPT, we go to Perplexity, Cloud, we go to your favorite Google search box, you go to Pinterest, you go to TikTok, you're looking for the best this or that. Even with Google Maps now, there's something called Ask Maps with Google. So you can literally ask Maps and it will tell you you're looking for this, and it will give you the exact locations. It's so intellectually savvy now that you can also have your content, whether you have an in-store location, a brick and mortar location, if you have an online e-commerce retail website, if you have a service or product-based website, service-based website, you can do this. If you operate externally outside of a website for business, but also operate internally, this is for you too. So as a business right now, being on a search engine is one of the most important things you can ever do. Because if you don't have trust, it's like saying if I have trust issues with you and you have trust issues with me, then no one's going anywhere. Like, that relationship is technically sunk. It's not even sinking, because you can't, unless you both decide to rebuild the trust, and that's going to take time. Building trust with someone takes time. And once that trust is broken, it's going to take a longer time to rebuild it. That's why it's very important for you to build trust with people that you do business with, that you're connected to, that you love, that you're with. And that also plays a big role into search engines too for your website. Where are your links leading people to? Are you externally connecting to another page? If you are, why? Is there a connection between the two? What does that say for you and the semantics of what you bring to the table, as opposed to it just being one-sided? Because a lot of people get featured on websites, podcasts, magazines, name it, and they don't internally link their websites back to those websites. So let's say, for instance, you get featured on a magazine or an online publication, or even get featured on Instagram. You get featured, you post something, and it's a big deal. And you don't go to your website to document it, the date happened, and also tag your brand and their brand, then you've missed an opportunity for the search engines to connect that post you made with the post you created on your website. Because search engines and social media are two different things. Search engines are heavily based on search, right? Because they're searching, they're fetching, they're crawling, they're indexing, they're ranking, they're doing a lot of activities. It's like a lot of moving parts simultaneously. So how do you move all these parts without breaking the flow, without breaking the process, without breaking the system? Sometimes even without breaking the bank. How do you do things in a way that you can get discovered within search engines? And I'm going to talk about those things today so that you can also do them for yourselves and understand how you can create them for your businesses. We do this for businesses either through consultancy or through implementation, or we build your website, we scale it, we'll audit your website, and we'll be able to know, okay, this is what's happening. I specifically send you a 5-minute video and I'm able to tell you this is what I see on your website, because it allows me to be very specific with how you need to take the next steps. Because if I show you the market opportunity and I show you where it's positioned and I show you a graph, or I even just show you your own website, you'll be like, okay, I can see where I could be in 2 years if I did A, B, C, D today. So there are very many specific things as a business owner we shouldn't ignore. And it's at a point now that we have to look at the numbers and ask ourselves, how are we growing organically online? How do we actually know that we are actively present online? That trust has to be established. So how do you build trust online? The first thing, before you even submit your application or submit your website to any platform, the first thing is to secure your own website domain. So most times people have a website and their domain privacy is on. Sometimes it's off. Sometimes your domain lock could be on. Your domain lock could be off, because a domain lock and domain privacy are two different things. So if they're both off, that's a problem. And most times one could be off, one could be on. Or one could be on, one could be off. Both need to be on. And sometimes that could be by default, but sometimes you may not see that some things have changed where you have to manually configure it. Thank you, Hamza, for the thumbs up. Appreciate you as well for being here in it. Apostle and Dominic, thanks for being here too, DA. So trust has to be established online. Trust has to be established online, and that's going to take time, especially if you have a new website. You know how much time it would take for Google bot or Bing bot or Yandex bot or Piddle bot or Anthropic or Cloud bot. I'm just talking about all these other bots. There are about 50 bots out there plus. So imagine all these bots are trying to figure out, okay, what is this website about? What are we coming here for? How much time are we spending? And how much information are we sending? That's the question. So if you have a website and your website needs to be full of consistency in building capacity to build, I would say I want to give you like a really good analogy. If you look at a website and you realize, okay, every month my website is increasing in the number of impressions, that's a good signal that shows that you have a market that is ready for your product. That's the first signal. That's the very first signal. That's why we call them trust signals, for a reason. It's a trust signal. When you hear that, you're like, okay, it's a signal and there's trust involved. So if you've secured your website and you have your domain protection on, you have your domain lock on, you have your domain itself secured with a HTTPS because it's Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Welcome, Jasmine. And then secure. So if it's HTTPS and you're sending people to a HTTP, then that's a not secure website that could harm the user, both the bot and the person. So when you hear user, it's two. It's not just the person, it's also the bot, because the bot also has a name. So you think about how to get discovered on search engines in 2026. Your website has to be secure, it has to build trust, and it has to build signals. It sounds very basic, but that's a very technical setup, because I would just come here and say, oh, you want to get discovered? And okay, write content. Okay, do this. You guys will be like, okay, sure. Okay, we got to go. Because you'll be like, I mean, that's what I'm doing. Is it working? Is it not working? How do we know it's working? If it's not working, how do we change it? How do we not change it? If it's supposed to work like this, how do we know these things? There are so many questions in between the questions, to the point where the questions now have more questions behind them. So if we don't answer these questions with the intention of solving the problem step by step, then it's going to be hard for us to see the finish line if we're not starting with the beginning in mind, and also starting with the end in mind. Because when you're driving to one point, if you're running to one point, if you're swimming to one point, then you know that you have a goal and you have a target, you have a reach, you have an intention to get to a destination by a certain amount of time. If you know you could get there in 10 seconds, but you spend 3 minutes, I don't think you'd want to do that again, because you know that you've saved a lot of time if you're able to just go through what you needed for 10 seconds and then get your 2 minutes, 50 seconds back. So if you're looking at your business to gain more search engine authority as a domain in 2026, then you need a secure website, which you already have, but it needs to be configured for trust and has to also be configured for analytics, because that trust is going to be based on the activity you get on a daily basis. This is why Google Search Console recently, not so recent, but it wasn't like this years ago. When you go to your Google Search Console, on the left side, you go to performance. On the right side, you're going to see the time, and it's going to tell you whether you want it in hourly, weekly, monthly. And then more specifically, if you go to the filters, there's a section that now says you can see the last 24 hours. So that never used to be there. Before, we just used to say, oh, last 30 days, 7 days if you're lucky, 90 days, and it keeps going. But now you can see up to 24 hours. So imagine if you noticed that in a week, you said, okay, between this time and this time, welcome unique, between this time and this time, this is a 24-hour cycle, knowing that we've spent 28 days and we want to understand the behavior of people by the week. So are they coming to our website at 5 a.m. or at 2 p.m.? Are they coming at 3 a.m. or are they coming at 4 p.m.? When you start knowing those things, and then based on their time zone, because someone can come at 4 p.m. my time, Central, but that could be your 2 p.m. Pacific. You could be in Australia and you're in the next day. So it's gonna have to be very specific. You can't just blanket the whole thing and say, oh yeah, this and this from here to here to there. Okay, and that's it. No, it will get very clunky, and at the same time, it will be skewed. So you wouldn't really have anything to use as a base of, I can say, not even direction, but just a way to take things to the next level. You'll be able to see them differently. So getting discovered on search engines is not hard, but you need structure and you need signals. And that structure is what's going to improve your signals, because your signals are trusted by secure networks. Now, when you look at your search engine, which could be Google, it could be Bing. Let's use those two, for example, Google and Bing. If you want to get discovered on Google, you need to be on Google Search Console. What is that? Google Search Console is the internet service provider for Google. So if you use a certain type of network service for Wi-Fi and you need to connect to the Wi-Fi, or you need to connect to the mobile network, you're going to connect through a specific type of network service. So if you're connecting to that service, that's the only way you can receive signals, which is what I talked about. And those signals will now be upload speed, download speed, broadband internet, Wi-Fi, all the nine, and you can be able to see everything from within. So if your website is loading less than 3 seconds, especially less than 2.5 seconds and less, then you'll be at a very fast response rate, because people can come in, come out, click here, get to where they need to go and leave. If someone's going to spend those 3 seconds waiting for your website to load, plus another 3 seconds for it to click, both message-wise and functional-wise or functionality-wise, then there's going to be a difference in the results you're going to get. And that's why there's something called bounce rates. If you have high bounce rates, it will fly. And those bounce rates mean that it's like going to a website or going to a thumbnail on YouTube that you were like, oh, I want to watch this video. And then you click on this video and it's talking about the exact opposite, or something that is totally irrelevant or completely out of context. So you're not going to really listen to that video or even watch it for the next 5 seconds, because you're going to look to the next video or type again to find something that's more specific within your filters. That's what happens with YouTube.com. So if you have a low bounce rate with YouTube, for example, and people are staying on your channel, that means your bounce rate is decreasing. So if your bounce rate is decreasing because people spend time on your YouTube channel or your YouTube video, which Google owns YouTube, so that's why I'm using this as a reference. If you have that, then Google and YouTube now start talking to each other about your website, both in the context of web and video. Now, images are also there too, because there's Google Images, but Google cannot read without alt text. So, and that's alternative text. So if you want Google to see your image, quote unquote, see your image, then you need alt text to describe the image in a comprehensive way for someone to actually paint the picture of the image that they have been told or described to. So it's exactly the same way, because Google cannot see an image. Google doesn't have eyes. Bots don't have eyes. So how will they understand the concept if it's not given to them in a contextual format? So being able to be identified, discovered, ranked, served, and available to your market would require your business to have a lot more intentionality in showing up in the Google search result pages or the search engine results pages, which is general for SERPs based on Google, Bing, and other search engines. So if you look at all these search engines that are going to be interconnected to your business, then the goal is to make sure that your secure website is connected to the internet service provider that Google requires for your website to be seen on google.com. So if you are on google.com, it means that you have connected your website to Google Search Console. How do you connect that? You can type it on Google, on YouTube, how to connect your website to Google Search Console. There are plenty of videos you can watch for free. And it's a free tool too. So it's free time. The only thing that you're spending is your time. So when you look at that, it's less than even 5 minutes to set up. Once you connect your Google Search Console and it is active, now this is when everything begins. Because some people connected after they've gone through a list of so many content fields and updates and website activity, but they've never really focused on fixing the technical setup of their website. It's different. So if they want to get discovered on search engines, then they have to get discovered through structured data mapping, through structured data markup. That's why it's called HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. That's the reason. Then the language part is the context part. So if you want to get discovered on a search engine with a HTML text, right, which is where we all go to Google, those blue links that we see, those are hyperlinks, right? So those hyperlinks are in HTML. Websites on the back end are read in XML, which is expandable markup language. So if you ever go to your website.com/sitemap, sitemap.xml, hit enter or hit return, and you will see your website sitemap. And every CMS platform has this. Every content management system has this, whether you're on Wix, Shopify, WordPress, Duda, Tilda, Magento, there are many out there. You'll be able to see that for yourself. And it will also play a big role into your discoverability. Your robots are also very important. We've talked about bots. So yes, there are bots that are scanning your content, but you also have bots on your website. And most times people don't configure their bots because it's like playing a video game and you want to configure your controls for something or for an adventure, or if you're playing it for sports or whatever you're using it for. You're going to configure it because, if I hit this button, if I click this button, it's going to take me to this point. If I hit X, or if I press square, or if I press R2, whatever I'm going to do, that's going to be a configured setting that I've placed on my controller so that when I play this game, I'm able to play with ease. I can play with understanding, and I can play with, competition in mind. Because that competitive nature allows you to now be more functional because you're using your fingers to be more productive and also be more responsive to thought. So if I need to jump and I need to press X because I need to jump, I'm sure people have played Temple Run before on their phones. And if you haven't, you can check it out on the App Store or the Play Store. And when you make those moves, when it says swipe up or Tinder or whatever platform you use, there's always a swiping nature involved. So if these are configurations that will require you to achieve a certain goal, then you need to also think about discovery from your own website when you configure your bots for the search engines. Before you even type anything on Google search, it's the Google bots that are talking within Google search. If you're on Bing, it's the Bing bots talking within Bing search. If you're on Yandex, it's the Yandex search and the Yandex bots that are talking within your Yandex search bar. So that's why when you are typing or when you're creating content or when you're looking for information on search engines, you also see your text and then you see a bold text. Now, when you see a bold text and you see your text, those are going to be two separate response systems that will give you more updates over time because you're getting more feedback loops back into your search console. It's like when you have a car and you step on the gas or you hit the brakes, you're able to see the dashboard. You're able to know, okay, if I hit the brakes like this, it's going to hit 60. If I hit the brakes like this, it's going to pull down. If I release the gas, is going to go down. So you start thinking about your measurements, right? So it sounds like the same thing, but I'm just giving you a very simple example so that you can take that same example and then look at the analogy on how your website can also operate too. So when you're looking at your website to get discovered, it's not your content that's going to help you get discovered. It's the structure of your content that's going to make you get discovered. If I give you crayons and I just scribble red, yellow, and blue crayons, you're going to see the crayon colors, but you're not going to understand what these colors are doing for the concept of the picture that you're trying to show me through illustration. So if I use those same crayons and I can say draw something that makes sense, even if it's a house I'm drawing or a stick figure, you're able to understand it because I've said the word stick figure or I've said house. So you've already thought about a crayon that you can draw to create that picture on paper. So that's configuration that you're also going to have on your website. But if you don't do that, then your website is going to be by default configured, which is not really a good way to rank because there are things that you have to configure for your website to gain mass appeal. It's like having a website built for you and then it still says facebook.com/Shopify. Yet you purchase the theme, you purchase the domain, you purchase the hosting, you purchase everything. This is your business, but you have another property in the form of a link showing up on your website. And when that is scanned, they're like, what is this page doing here? This is not the right domain. That domain has another website. So what's this for? And then it just skips you because you don't have context to explain or justify why your Facebook link is not there. So it gets janky. And even more janky, you can even say it that way, when you have a Facebook account or LinkedIn account and there's a company profile link and says https://www. your website. And let's say your website does not have a www. It's going to have an error message. And if you don't configure it correctly, you might get an error message too. This happened with a client yesterday. Yeah, this was yesterday. And she sent me a screenshot of what somebody was trying to purchase on the website. And she was like, Favour, she's not connecting to the website. And then I said, okay, let me look at it. So I looked at the screenshot she sent me. I didn't even look at the message. I went straight to the screenshot at the top where I saw the domain. And I was like, that's it. And I told her the reason why it's not connecting is because on her site, because I didn't even have admin access to it. So it was literally her operating it on her own. And I was like, the reason why I can't do anything unless you do it is based on completion, and you have it on your own, because we moved her from WordPress to Shopify because Shopify was much better for her too, because she does cleaning solutions, which is a really nice product too. And you guys can check it out. Go to cleaninvogue.com, cleaninvogue.com. Great place. And she does cleaning solutions, whether it's tile degreasers, whether it's wood, and it's also eco-friendly. Because when you also use these sprays on your house, you have pets, you have babies, you have children, if you're sensitive to skin and things like that, you don't want to have any contaminants as well. So she's very big on, and it's glass too, it's not even plastic. So it's a really good way of cleaning your home. And we're like, okay, she's doing really well, and it's doing really well for her in Atlanta. And now she even was on TV recently. It's going to be, pre-screened, or it's going to be aired, very soon, because she's done so much and she's built it out that way. And I'm excited for her. And this is someone I've known for 6 years now. Yeah, about 6 years. So building that relationship has allowed me to see things on completely different ends, right? Coming from where things were not so good to now where things are good. And she shares this screenshot with me and she's like, hey, Favour, check this out. And I told her the reason why is because this link that this person actually used was the wrong link, because they probably typed it in a different way. And since I can't access your site, there needs to be a configuration so that if somebody types it this way, they're not going to miss it. Because what was missing was she didn't have a www, a World Wide Web. It wasn't written in at the top. So it made a default, and that default made an error message, which didn't allow her to connect to the site. So I told her, check this link. So I sent her the link and I told her to resend it. And that's when everything was fixed. So you wonder, okay, isn't that supposed to happen naturally? No, it's not supposed to happen naturally because it's a custom domain. So when you buy your domain from these platforms, Namecheap, GoDaddy, Bluehost, Hostinger, SiteGround, there are many out there. When you start connecting your website to these platforms, you're connecting your domain and you're also building a security pathway and also a security system for your, I can even say for your website or for your brand overall. When you send out emails, it's coming from that same place. It's called an MX record, a mail exchange record. Either it's going to be an Outlook mail or a Google mail or an Apple mail. There's going to be some type of mail. That's going to be a mailbox that you purchased for your business or a work email, a professional email. So when you're getting discovered on search engines, your domain is going to be your fortress. It's going to be your shining, guiding light. It's going to be that pathway to success. And when you have a website, it's going to do well. There's a client I'm talking to this morning. I talked to her this morning, and we had a really, really good conversation because she helps businesses with understanding how to treat your water better, especially in homes, because, water is technically life. Our bodies are water, and the things that we do with water are so important. So we were doing some research and some studies, and today I was telling her about, how important it is for us to look at the discovery of how people can find content for her based on a local, regional, national level. And I came to see that even when she mentioned to me that when you look at the way people understand what water is, it's not as comprehensive or as understood as it should, because there's a lot of missing links, especially when it comes to the information that you receive. You're just picking a service, you're just doing this because you're choosing this or that. You can't really understand the root cause of a reason why this could be happening. It's so deep. So that's a problem we want to solve. And it's a new website, but we had to move her from GoDaddy to Hostinger, because within GoDaddy, there's so many things when it comes to domain control. And clearly they call it domain control. It's very interesting because when you look at the name servers and you look at, even with GoDaddy, they're connected with Outlook Mail. So you have to change your records if you're going to use Google Workspace, which is different from Outlook Mail. There are so many moving parts. And you ask yourself, okay, if I want to get discovered on search engines, how am I going to use my domain? How am I going to use my website? How am I going to use my content that's both on social media and search engines to actually still retain and also be discovered in the future latter use? Or I can say utility benchmark rate. I can call it that way because you're looking at it from a long-term perspective and not a short-term perspective. Because one thing to get discovered on search engines, it's another thing to get discovered, found, and actually connected. Because we find a lot of things every day on Google or wherever platform you use. We discover a lot of things every day, but it's not everything that you discover that you follow through. So, or you follow through with specifically. So your search engines are going to be so important in 2026, having your own website so that those secure signals you have as domains are able to let people know, hey, we need to let you know that we have a website and we talk about this. And the client that I was talking to earlier today, she was featured. She told me that she has a Guinness World Book of Record. And I was like, what? And I was like, when? So we literally did a search and we found it. And it happened with a huge company. And I was like, whoa, you need to have this on your website, because they have it since it's almost 10 years now that she got that award. And I'm like, nah, there's no way you can have this type of award and it's not looking on your website. So we have literally rebuilt her website. We're going to be putting her website and it's going to be huge. She's going to get that link back. And I said link back in not backlink for a reason. That link back because she has content and her name is on that page. So if her name is on that page and then AI is looking for semantics that match, and she has a very unique name, that's going to pull from that page, even though she was not linked to that page, it's still going to link back to her website, because now her website has now created more opportunity to get more responses in the form of data points, because now she has a website to actually activate that page. 10 years ago, she didn't have a website to push that narrative forward, or kind of like push it back to her signal, because she didn't have any route in form of a website to make that happen. But now that she's about to do that, and it's about to take about 7 days to transfer everything over to another platform, because it takes about 5 to 7 days to move domains from one hosting to another hosting. So it's a very periodic scheduled thing. And if you have a date of campaigns, if you have specific things to do, you have to be very meticulous with your timing so that you don't miss on those dates that are very important to you. Let's say it's Mother's Day and you want to do something and you can't because your domain is still loading, because it takes 7 days to move. It's going to be hard. So if you're going to run ads, it's a lot of moving parts. That's why I always say, hey, what's the goal? What's the target? Can we make this happen? So now she's going to get that link. And I told her that the person that she recommended, or the person that recommended her to that Guinness World Book of Records, she's going to reach out to the person, because the contact is at the very bottom of that article. And I was like, yeah, reach out to her. And she's already there. Her phone number is there. Her name is there. Find her on LinkedIn. That's her professional email. And then let her know that you have a website and you can actually get a backlink. That's now where the backlink comes from. And a do follow backlink, not a no follow backlink, because there are two types of backlinks. So that do follow backlink will now activate her new website, and she's going to skyrocket because she has content that she was featured 10 years ago. So if you hear what I'm talking about in context to what I'm saying about discovery on search engines, it's not just about, oh, I got content, because everybody has content. But can the content you have or you posted last year, 10 years ago, outlast you 10 years from now? That's the question. Celeste, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and welcome everyone to the Marketing Club. And I hope you're enjoying the conversations today. Please put your links or put your questions in the chat. That will help me understand you better, and also help me understand what you need, because I'm sure you have some questions and I'm sure you're just listening. And I'm like, I'm going to pause and I'm going to take some questions. So over to you, Celeste. What's up? What's going down? Thanks for being here. Good morning.
Hey, you know what I find it's funny? Our friend, me and you are in sync, because I will just randomly be like, oh, let me see what's going on Clubhouse. And you, for the past 3 days, I think your room has been open. So yes, I love, 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 love when you open rooms. And thanks for always inviting me up. So hi, everybody. I'm Celeste. My claim to fame is all about SEO and how I scaled my super struggling small business from one figure to six figures, literally by getting more than half of my new clientele through organic Google searches. So please lean into what Favour is teaching today, because I wholeheartedly believe that these are real strategies that can get you real results. So yay, yay, yay. Okay. Did you have a question, or we're just gonna go back and forth and chit chat about this subject?
Let's talk about this. Let me ask you this question, because it just came to mind just now, and I hope this helps the room, and I hope this helps the person that's listening, because I'll also answer the question after you go. When your clients tell you how their clients found them, what normally happens in that conversation?
So you mean like when I work with people to help them with their SEO and we have that initial conversation?
You've set up everything and it's going, and now they're getting discovered because of the implementation of your SEO workflows. That
Oh,
way,
gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I just kind of spilled the beans, but most of my strategies involve everything you can do for free to rank on Google. And so, the timeline varies, but, once that click happens where it's like, oh, I'm being found. And then, oh, also, FYI, this whole week, my baby's daycare is closed. Super, super annoying. So you will hear a lot of background noise from a 3-year-old. Oh, stop. Don't hit mama. I don't like that. So once that switch happens, it is a lot of oh my gosh, I'm getting so much more traffic through my website. But you did say something that I always like to emphasize. You had said right when I came into this room, there's like a three-part system. It's like, okay, you're being searched, then you're being found, then you're being connected. It's that connected piece that I really try to focus on, because this happened like, oh, it was so bad, y'all. I had took on this client. This is like a few years ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I can, increase your Google ranking, all that good stuff. Oh, close that, please. Thank you. Um, and so I did all the things, and they, sure enough, their traffic went up. And I was like, oh, job done, right? Well, a couple months later, they hit me up and they're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I paid you all this money and I haven't been getting any sales. And I'm like, oh, like, the last time we looked, your traffic count went up like, 150, 200%. So I don't know. And I kind of, didn't do this pre work of making sure that like their actual website was like, converting already before I increased the traffic. And the website kind of just, wasn't up to par. And so that connecting piece is so huge. It's like, okay, yes, you can increase the traffic, but once the people come, how are you going to get them to go from a looker to a buyer? And because of that, I kind of got blamed, and I'm just like, girl, like, I can't fix your whole business. Like, I can help you with the traffic, but, I never looked at that as a part of my job. So now that's like pre-work that I assign people, like, okay, before we work together, let's make sure that we're not going to do all this work in vain. So I really love that you brought that up. I know I kind of answered your question plus a little more, so I will land my plane there. Good question, though.
Thank you, Celeste. That was perfect. I feel like what you said, especially about creating that loop consistently to keep it happening, is where you get to see the results and also identify what the solution is outside of what you can't control. Because you don't control their business, but you were able to drive traffic. Like say, hey, everyone drive here. And then we all get to the middle and then you don't see the signpost that's supposed to take you to park. I took you there because there's a location to park, but you can't park because the person there did not give you the parking sign or didn't give you the parking instructions. So it's,
Yes,
you
and
know
really
what I'm
quick,
saying?
my favorite analogy, I do this dinner party analogy all the time. It's like, yes, I can help you create a dope ass flyer. Like, hey, come to this dinner party, right? Oh, I can create all these images of the food, do all this stuff, invite the people. But when they get there, you have to serve the food. Like, you got to cook the food, okay? So if it's not up to par, you can't blame me for a bad experience. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to insert that there.
It's important to note that, yeah, if it's terrible, it's terrible. Because it's not your fault. And if it needs to be fixed, it needs to be addressed. And that happens a lot of times. I see websites that have broken links and I'm like, hey, if you don't fix this, it's going to hurt you in the future. They're like, okay, all right. And then it happens. You're like, oh, wait, I said, remember when I told you this? So I'm always making sure that it's said, it's repeated, and then when it's done, you're like, oh, I get it now. There's some clients now, 2 years in, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Some 3 years are like, oh, I understand why it took that long, because it's not going to happen overnight, but it happens when it's supposed to happen. In 6 months, in 3 months, you're like, okay, I see it. Like a client of ours, they have a massage in New York and they have competition with about two other massage parlors, and they do specifically things that they also don't do, which is an advantage to them because they're able to do things like lymphatic massage, red light therapy massage, prenatal massage. There are specific types of massages. I'm like, oh wow, these are different types of massages. So I learn so much from our clients more than they learn from me. I always say that. So I'm like, okay, I understand. Okay, we need to do this. Okay, corporate chair massage. Okay, what is this? How does this work? And then you now go back to the roots and you're like, okay, there's a reason why people actually need this type of service. So with this client, we know that, okay, they need help in New York. Now it got to a point where their staff are burnt out because they are overloaded with schedules. And this is the perfect time because it's also leading up to Mother's Day. They have gift cards, their loyalty programs. It's working well and they're getting discovered on search engines. So I now asked him, I said, anytime somebody walks in or calls your phone or somebody in the staff picks up the phone, always ask the person to ask whoever is calling to ask them, how did you find us? That question is golden. And a lot of people miss that because they don't take that information seriously. They don't. They're like, oh, we found you on Google. Okay, great story, cool story, bro. And then you move on like nothing happened. When that never happened, that this time last year or that time the previous year. So we did that with the client, and now he told me we have meetings on Mondays, and he told me that this was just yesterday that he asked the question and they said Google, and I now said, okay, more specifically, which I told him beforehand, that when they answer the question, ask them, what did they search? Because you can say Google and you're like, okay, cool, Google. Ask them exactly what they typed. What did they search for? And now when he said it, I was like, oh, that's exactly what they need. So when we're now looking at zip codes, we're looking at how much it takes to drive 5 to 25 miles out. Would you drive 30 miles out to a place that you'd rather go to than drive 5 miles closer to a place where you shouldn't be, or you could be, but it's really not maybe meant for you, or that's not your vibe, because you'd rather drive an hour to go somewhere than spend 10 minutes because you're looking for the experience and not just the distance. So if you take that same instance for your website and see, would somebody go all the way to page 2 to find you, or scroll all the way down to decide between 3 options that they like to know which one they're going to click on? That's going to depend on how much visibility that you've given the internet to allow you to be indexed for that visibility. So he mentioned exactly how they found them on Google and what they searched for. And that also played a big role into how they're also doing their marketing. And then from there, they're able to have pages on their website that are location based. So if they're looking for this massage, this city, then they can exactly find that. And most times it's Yelp. So I'm like, you see Yelp? Now we're above Yelp because we're able to be above those semantics because it's just pages on pages on pages on pages. So if we have more pages to support that one page, then we have more pages attributed to that one domain. And it gets fatter, it gets thicker, it gets bigger, it gets more robust, it gets more sophisticated. And at the end of the day, it gets understood. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. So when you get discovered on search engines in 2026, your goal is to see your website grow exponentially because you have a good sitemap, which means you have a good brain, a functional one, a robust one, an active one, and you have robots that are configured, which will now be, I can call them the veins, because the veins is what's transmitting signals, transmitting whatever it needs to transmit from left to right, up, down, in between, inside out. So if you look at your sitemap, which is a brain, and you look at your robot, which is the veins, and both of them are active, meaning that you have active pages. If you have articles you wrote back 5 years ago that are still living on your website that have never been updated, they need to be updated because those updates are dormant. Right now, you just have a date published, you don't have a date modified. And AI is looking for date modified pages. If your pages are not modified by date or by the recent date, then it's going to be hard for you to also be indexed by a certain date. So everything comes with date, and date is day and time evaluation. That's what the acronym is for date, day and time evaluation. So when you look at the date and you ask yourself, what am I factoring in? Where am I taking my time and how am I spending my time? Then we're being more specific with how we attribute to get more results over time because we're creating search engine bots for the search engines themselves. They're search engine queries. They're search engine pages, right? We have search bots. So if we're thinking about getting discovered, discovery is not just, oh, we found you on Google. It's, did you book a call with us? Why did you choose us over the other person? And what's your need? And then when you get those results and they sign up and they now join your email list and you're seeing them in the tens of thousands and you send one email, you've built so much trust over time that now someone can actually connect back to you because the connection now is where the email is. Imagine me having a conversation with you. We had a dope conversation. We had a very high intellectual conversation, but we never connected on LinkedIn. We never connected via phone number. We never connected via digital business card or even a paper. We didn't write our names down on a paper and exchanged it. We didn't do any type of trading. then that's where we get to see a miss, because I can't give you 100 impressions and you get, let's say, 10 clicks. That means you have 10% click-through rate. And that means 10 people came to your site from 100 people viewing your site. And now out of those 10 people, you didn't have a pop-up that says, hey, welcome to our site. What would you like to know? Do we do music, events, food, culture? What do you like? By the time they choose what they like, now you have a preference. And that preference is going to keep you segmented and also keep you out of fragmentation when it comes to audience targeting and also retargeting your markets for higher conversions and also higher conversion lifts. So it's very important to look at these search engines and not just think about them as just analytical terms, but also as technical setups to build a more robust system that you can attribute back to when you think about the long-term effect of what you create content-wise and also context-wise. Alex, we'd love to hear from you. Welcome to the room. Good afternoon.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Good, good. You have a question, contribution, feel free.
We're speaking more on AI, and I like to say that's kind of where the puck is going in terms of SEO, discovery of businesses, services, kind of anything online based. So, kind of when you spoke on date and date modifiers, that's a really good point. And I was just questioning from either of you guys, what other attributes should a business have in terms of discovery and getting found via AI bots like a ChatGPT, a Gemini, a Claude, or whatnot? Because I do believe that's the future of where we're going with SEO.
100%, Alex. That's a great question. Yes, there has to be a flow of structure that has to go across your website. And this is to the T. As far as indexing goes, when it comes to discoverability, a lot of websites have duplicate pages. And you can even find it. If you have a duplicate page, let me know. Go to siteliner.com, siteliner.com, and put in your domain there. And you'll get a result. You get a result of normal pages, broken pages, or duplicate pages. Those are the three optional pages you're going to get. They need to be normal. If they're not normal, they're broken, or they need to be fixed ASAP, because if you have pages that are duplicated or broken, then it's going to be hard for you to actually get discovered, because Googlebot is going to choose one link. And if you have 3 duplicates, then you can't be able to be seen. So even though you did a last modified for one and your canonical tags are off, then it's going to be hard for you to have higher indexing rates. And also you'll have a less crawl budget, which is also going to limit the time Google spends on your website every time it crawls. So when we think about a crawl budget, we're not looking at money, we're looking at time. If Google's going to spend 2 hours crawling your website and your competitor's website, they spend 2 days, then you can see the amount of intensity when it comes to understanding the semantics and where you actually get discovered. Because every 24 hours with AI bots, whether it's Googlebot, Anthropic, whether it's Pedalbot, whether it's Yandexbot, Bingbot, Cloudbot, Ahrefsbot, they're about 50 plus crawlers out there. So if you are not structured and you don't have a structured data markup language based website, then your website is going to crumble in the future. Because right now it may look like everything is good, but if a flood comes, if a hurricane comes, and the Google core update comes and they update and say all pages that don't have this, before you know it, your page will be part of those that are losing traffic, which has happened. It's happened to one of our clients, and now we're regaining that traffic. It's going to take them about 4 weeks to 24 weeks to see the results, because they lost traffic within the last 8 weeks prior to us meeting, because they dropped from being in the millions to the hundreds of thousands. Why? Because there was an update that was made. And if that update was made by Google and they didn't update their website, because they have over 500 URLs, and out of those URLs, about 95% plus of them, I'm not giving the exact number, but about 95% are pages that hadn't been updated in the last, we're in 2026, in the last 3+ years. So those pages are dormant. And if those pages were driving you traffic, because the lifespan of one blog is 24 months, now you're at 36 months. So if you're past the renewal time, it's like saying you're driving with an expired tag. it's just going to be, before you know it, it's not going to look pretty. So you want to look at that same intensity from your domain structure, so that if you have pages on your website and I scan your page, I do an audit of your page, and I'm like, hey, you have canonical tag errors here. We had a client we looked at, they had a local host as their canonical tag instead of it being the actual domain. So that already told me everything about their website. Even though the aesthetics of the website was pretty, it was looking good, animations flying here and there, I went to technical and it wasn't set up correctly. So that told me it's like having a pretty face with a terrible personality. No one's gonna like you because they're looking at the content of your heart and not just what they're seeing with their eyes. So when you look at the concept of what I'm explaining in terms of how you can also structure your content for AI visibility, because yes, we are in an AI space now, it's search everywhere optimization. People say is SEO dead? It's not. It's not dead. It's actually more alive than ever, because it's actually exposing how people don't do SEO. Because people say they do SEO, but when you look at their SEO, you wonder, what is this? What are those? And you say you do SEO? How, Sway? So when you look at your connectivity from your website to a bot back to you, then it's going to say a lot about how you show up online. And how we can easily tell is if we look at your domain authority. If you've been in business for 5 years and your domain authority is less than 10 points, that says a lot about your domain authority. You should be at least within the 20 plus range to at least 50, because every year a domain is increasing by points, around 7 points per year. So 7 times 5, 35. You have a 35 domain authority because you've been building over time. TikTok.com was first registered as a domain in 1996, but it was Musical.ly in 2016, and it's TikTok all the way through 2026. So that's 30 years of domain authority. And they've been connected. So that authority is credit for them because they're able to understand what the semantics have been doing. So when I'm talking about structure and discovery, I'm not talking about content and updates. I'm talking about technical setups, impact, and longevity, so that if you're able to look at your website and say, hey, we need to fix this problem needs to be fixed, because if we don't have modified dates, if we don't have structured data markup language, and also use our domains as a great base for discovery, then it's going to be hard for us to also boost that. Because how we're able to even know that signal is operating is when we send emails to prospects, communities. We sign up with emails. You join Clubhouse with an email. You are using emails for communications. So if you're going to click the link above, sign up to the newsletter, and you receive an email from me, then that's because you want to receive emails based on topics of interest. If it's your website, they're going to search and say, hey, we want to learn about food. We want to learn about culture. We want to learn about real estate or AI, or what's the latest news on ABC. All those things is because someone has information somewhere that is able to transmit signals from one end to the other. So it's search bots, search boxes, which is where we type, and then search engines, and then search engine results pages. So if we're able to look at all these things in between, it will help. I'll give you a website that you can check out. And if you're listening to this, type this down or write this down. SERPAPI.com. Go to serpapi.com. That website will tell you exactly. There's a left brain and a right brain. I usually say it that way. The left brain, or the left hemisphere, or the left side of your screen, is because it's a split screen. You will see on the left side what it looks like on Google, what everybody sees. On the right side is what the bots are talking about. That's where the language is being coded. So to your question, Alex, structured data markup language is going to be one of your best friends in 2026, 2027, and beyond, so that you can also use your website not just for data acquisition, but also for data retention and also for actualization, so that you can use those visualization charts on how you do reports, let's say every month, every quarter, every year, and you're able to know, okay, by this time last year, we were doing X amount, now we're doing Y amount. And you're able to attribute that based on how you've been able to set up your website from the year prior. So everything that we're working on now is AI related, but it also has to be semantically connected, so that when people are finding your content, it's not just about what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it. Alex, does that help your question?
Yeah, I think the most valuable piece you spoke about the blog post having about a 24 month lifespan. And I guess what I was getting at is kind of external factors outside of your website. So, for example, PR, press releases, any kind of content that lives online. Because I think the future of search is not going to be someone saying, typing in the Google search, barbershops in Chicago. They're going to say best barbershop in Chicago on ChatGPT. And how do you get in that one or two or maybe even that third result that ChatGPT is going to blurt out? And nine times out of 10 people are going to go off of whatever those recommendations are. So that's kind of where my question was: is how do you get in that space? Because that's frankly how people are making decisions. People don't necessarily do research anymore. They just ask, their favorite chatbot, and then they go off of those 2 to 3 recommendations that are given to them.
I would like to
Great
chime
question.
in if that's okay.
Yes, let's
Because you
go.
know what, Alex? I love this question because, hi, I think this might be our first time meeting, but I had did a room on SEO and I had talked about how this is funny but not funny. Favor already know, you know the story. How I had basically the whole class was like an hour and a half, and I was like, oh, Google, and because I teach organic Google ranking strategies. And at the very end, I was like, oh, but there's AI. And as of now, even though Google is still the largest search engine, trends are showing, just like you said, Alex, that in the next, 3 to 5, I don't know, years, ChatGPT might, outrank Google in that arena. So I had did this little just on the fly experience. Keep in mind on Google, girl ranks really high. I've always ranked high. And I asked ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, who would you recommend for face painting? That's pretty much what I specialize in Portland, Oregon. And I was not listed in the recommendations. And so it was kind of like this funny moment of like, ooh, I need to work on this. But also, after the class concluded, I did this deep dive on like, okay, how is ChatGPT even pulling these recommendations? Because one of the people I had never heard of in my life, I was like, who the heck is this? And this is why, I find it funny that there's so many SEO experts, they give so much different advice, but things just change so rapidly. So, Favor, I know you heard about how, like, oh, backlinks are dead. Backlinks are dead. Everybody keeps saying this. Well, guess what? I looked on those recommendations and I found two things. A, just like you said, a lot of them, they're just looking on who has the best like reviews on different outlets and they're pulling that information to rank the recommendations. Number two, backlinks are not dead because I literally saw one of them was linked through, y'all, so random, MapQuest. Like, who even uses MapQuest anymore? And guess what? Because when you look at the results on ChatGPT, it will always cite the source, which I love, right? So, my biggest recommendation to you is if you have a business and you're wondering how do people rank, go ask ChatGPT, hey, who are the best blah blah blahs, whatever your business category is, who are the best, who do you recommend, and see where are they pulling this information from. I had just while you were talking, Favor, I was like, let me double check this, and yeah, it's right. So they will sometimes pull information from your site. So structuring your site to include, a lot of information on why you're the best, on why you're like a subject matter expert in your field will definitely help. But and I got to ask, oh, who are the best braiding salons in Portland, just to see, as an experiment. They're pulling from kind of like Yelp's, like people or not people, sites that will host a lot of different businesses in one category's information. They're pulling from there. Again, MapQuest. I think this is so random that ChatGPT pulls info from MapQuest. I haven't even heard that name in like 5 years. But there you go, MapQuest. There's another one, Gloss Genius, which is like a platform that a lot of stylists and estheticians use. So again, just going on there to do like ground level research and seeing, okay, who exactly is ranking and how are they pulling this information is a really, really big start. So thank you for asking that question, Alex. I think it's something we all need to pay attention to.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. Just background, I actually worked in app engineering at Yelp and about 10 years ago. So I was actually there during the time where they got in 2014, they got an acquisition offer from Google. And Jeremy Stoppelman, the CEO, he notoriously he was not a fan of Google. And this was pretty much the birth of Google reviews at that time, because Yelp was pretty much the king of online directory. So pretty much, and a lot of people may or may not know this, but pretty much when you get an acquisition offer and you decline it, that means whoever that competitor is, they're likely going to start competing with you, instead of just getting a head start by buying you out. So pretty much Google reviews started around that 2014 timeframe. And Yelp they were valued at 6.3 billion. And I think that's what the purchase price was at the time. And I think now they're worth 1.5. So the point of me telling this quick anecdote is Yelp has declined massively. And Google search has been, I think the statistics, it's around 90% of people use Google search to find things online. But they were just saying that I think it's between ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude, they're like 300 to 400% growing month over month in terms of usage and how people are searching for things. So Google search is still king by definition, but people are kind of just talking into their chat bots and just getting, like you said, getting those recommendations. And whether they're actually good recommendations or not, that is, I believe, where people are going. Because, and the term I like to use is decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is where people do not want to make decisions. They just want to be told, hey, this is first, second, and third option. And these are the differences between the three. And here you go. And then people kind of, do what they do. So I just wanted to share that because I thought that was an interesting tidbit, but really good conversation with you guys and a lot of good information that you guys are sharing here.
I love that you use decision fatigue. That is exactly it. I always have preached and preached over the years like, oh, consumers are lazy, but are they really lazy or are they just trying to find more efficient ways to do things? So, yes, thank you for sharing that. And we need your expertise on the stage because seeing that this behind the scenes with Yelp is like a huge, huge asset to like, especially me. I want to pick your brain one of these days. So definitely come back. Over to you, Favor.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Alex, for that question. Very helpful. And I love that we're able to share this type of information here. It's unique. That's why I love Clubhouse, because you just never know who you meet on the app. So you're welcome to the marketing club. You can, cash in your ticket and join the marketing club. We have over 353.5K members here. So we usually do this consistently. And this week I have been consistent. I have been saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick a time that I'll be here because I'm thinking, okay, how are we going to make sure that this is done at a good stretch? And I'm in Central Time. So I said, okay, yeah, let's make sure I can do it at this time. And it's working. And I'm glad that we're talking about this today. You mentioned the site structure and discovery when it comes to reviews as well. I'm looking at Yelp reviews, Google reviews, Trustpilot reviews. There's also BBB reviews, Better Business Bureau reviews. And there are other review sites that you can also have, which are also linked back to your website or linked back to your domain when you have certain types of industry or service types or product types that are going to help people understand more about what kind of service you render or products you deliver or you produce. There's something called Web Almanac. If you've never heard of this before, you can Google this. There's something called Web Almanac. And what that is, it's typically a HTTP archive that is done in form of an annual report, which combines two mixtures. This is where everything now just makes sense if we're talking about discovery for search engines. Because I can say this includes everyone, whether you're AI or traditional, whether your website, a top level domain, or TLD, it's all in one. This is what it combines. Well, Web Almanac combines raw web statistics with community expertise. And that is based on a lot of factors. It's based on your performance, your accessibility. That's why I was talking about your images, your attributes. Like, how do you do your image alts, and how do you attribute the images to your JavaScript or to your CSS? How are you able to show up on these different platforms and also show up with the right information that people can also look at? If you have a website, even when it comes to images and bots, most of us don't have the tags on or the index tags on within our robots text, because we need to also have maximum visibility. It's the same thing like with podcasts too. When you mentioned this, Alex, podcasting is one great way you can also get discovered, because there are two types of circles in AI. There's an inner circle. Welcome, Dr. Fashion. There's an inner circle and there's an outer circle. The inner circle is 25%, the outer circle is 75%. So if you're on ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, Meta AI, Grok, Manus, there's so many out there. There's DeepSeek. The list is endless. When you have all these different tools and different AI destination pointers, welcome Stack, you can create these reports for data training purposes. Appreciate you for the love, Stack. What's going down?
Okay, no, I came to show you some love, man.
Thanks. Appreciate you for being here, man. So, Web Almanac is so important for your growth in 2026. Because when you have your website generating the type of traffic it's going to generate based on the type of activity you've created for it, your website will start getting more results because you're actually training the AI bots. You know, your website can actually train the AI bots. If you didn't know that, it can. Because if you allow your structured data points to allow your website to be connected to these servers, it's going to be easy for you to now get more responsive feedback. There's something called entity SEO. I'm giving you guys some very new words today, or new terms today. Please Google these words. Entity SEO. And this is technically the way SEO is going to be, which I've also predicted that by 2030, it's going to be called thought leadership. SEO, yeah, we're going to keep calling it SEO, but it's technically going to be thought leadership. It's like, who is the thought leader in this niche, right? We have podcasts. Podcasts have genres. These genres have different target markets, right? There are 4.7 million podcasts in the world. 600%, let me say it this way. Let me just give you like a good map so you can look at this. 600,000 podcast shows can generate 600% at the least. Plus, when you divide that 600,000 based on your niche. So I'll give you an instance, right? If let's say you have a podcast and your podcast is in the sports industry, right? It's in the sports industry and you're competing against other keywords. It's called keyword battlegrounds, right? According to Pod SEO. When you look at the structure that is set up, right? You're able to see exactly where your keywords match, because the same way keywords are ranking on ChatGPT and Perplexity, it's way more than it was before. Yes, before it used to be the top 10 listings. Now ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude can cite 40 citations and get one result for you, or give you the top 3 out of the 40 that it scanned through. Whenever it's scanning, whenever AI is scanning, there's something called QFO. QFO is query fan out, right? Whenever you see, I'm describing this, researching this, you're going to see me saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And then it's doing it. And as it's telling you what it's actually doing, it's called query fan out. And then under the query fan out, it's called grounding queries, right? So those queries that we have in our Google Search Console, are the same queries we have in our search titles, in our meta titles, and that's what's going to drive traffic. So if you go to your website and you realize, oh, I'm getting queries for this keyword, but I don't have a page to attribute this keyword to, that's where your page now becomes a citation, because you have a web link in form of structured data that allows the search engines to trust your website because you have the signal threshold, if that makes sense. So entity SEO is basically having a well-defined concept and a well-defined relationship between understanding different concepts that drive similar results. If I say cat food and I say catwalk, the seed word there is cat. So cat food and catwalk are two different semantics, but I have the same word cat. So if I know that I'm going to be typing, that's why they call them long tail keywords. And now that's why they've changed them from things to strings, because now there's a keyword string. And if we have strings and they're also turning into different semantics, then we know that, oh, okay, if we have strings, we have things, we have entity SEO, we have structured data markup language, we have HTML, which is hypertext markup language. People are searching on the search boxes, and then the search result says, here are the top 10 results for what you searched on. Oh, I'm looking for best sushi restaurant near me. Then you get, okay, here's a Yelp review, here's a Google review, here's a local 3-pack, here's a podcast talking about the best food in Houston, here's talking about this or that. Before you know it, you have so much data points that it's not only your website talking for you, but because you're on Apple Podcasts, because you're on Spotify, because you're featured on Forbes, because you have a LinkedIn post, because you have a Medium article, because you have something out there that's linking back to you, the entity SEO, when you hear entity, it's entirety. It's the whole spectrum. It's 360 degrees. It's not 359 degrees. So when you have the full spectrum from end to end, that's where your business starts to actually make sense, SENSE, and it also makes sense, CENTS. So to get discovered on a search engine in 2026 requires your website to have structure. And it's like a relationship. If you have a structured relationship, if you understand boundaries, if you understand, house rules, if you understand things that need to be done, if you know what has to be done in order to get things done, then those little things that you do go a very long way. It's the little things that go a long way. It's those drops in the ocean that create a flood or create a tidal wave. So you choose, how do you want that to move? So when you think about these relationships you're building, your website should not be ignored, because some people have websites and it says copyright 2024, 2002. Because you've not updated your website just because you don't think it's important, because we don't need websites in 2026, which is the norm, but it's really not, because the same AI platforms you're using are looking for data points from websites like yours they could be searching from or they could be fetching from. So you're literally leaving money on the table, you're leaving data on the table, and you're leaving your brand on the table. So that's why I'm talking about these things with you, so that you're able to understand it if you're not even problem aware, so we can get to the solution together and actually do it, because there's so much out there. You know how many websites there are in the world? There are 1.1 billion websites. That means there are 1.1 billion people out of 8 billion people in the world that have websites. And if you look at my face and you click on my face, you're going to see a picture. If you swipe left to the fourth image, you'll see a picture there. And it will tell you that each dot is about 3.2 million people. In 8 billion people in the world, we have 8 billion people in the world. Right now, it's about 8.2 billion people. If you go to worldometer.info, I think that's the URL, you can check it out and just say, how many people are in the world right now? And you'll see it. There are 8.2 billion people, and 6.8 billion people have never used AI. And we're in 2026. So we're talking about something that's going to become a norm in the next 3 to 5, 10 years that we are achieving now, and we're understanding because we're actually paying attention to the signs and not ignoring the signs because we think that we're not going to switch from manual to or stick shift to automatic to self-driving. It's going to happen. It is happening. It's already happening. So when you look at these things for your website too, from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, we have to understand that times are changing. And if we don't change with the times, just like we're not the same as we were, you're 1 second older, you're 1 minute older, you're 1 year older. So if you think about that and look at your domain and look at your domain age, because your domain has an age. How do you know your domain's age? It's the day that you bought your domain. So every day you buy or you renew your domain, that's the new age. And if it's your domain, it's going to say, hey, you've had this for 10 years, for 2 years. That's your domain age. That's your history. So if you've not connected your website and you've been having a 10-year website, but you have a 2-year dashboard, then you've missed 8 years of data that you could have used to take you to the next decade in a much faster succession rate. But it's not, hope's not lost, but it's better late than never. So I'll say that. Stack, what you thinking? What's going down?
Listen, man, everything you saying, Favour, is important. That's why I tell a lot of people, get out in the media and start telling your story. I run, a huge media outlet, so everything I'm here, I'm just supporting everything you're saying, because we do the same thing, Favour. Get up in the SEO, get searchable, start telling your story, start a show. If you're thinking about starting a show, you need to go ahead and do it, but you also have to have substance. I see a lot of pods that are out, Favour, and you tell me if I'm wrong. People start pods, but the substance isn't there. You don't know how to be creative. You have to be creative when you're starting a pod. So if you are gonna, you do want to pop up on SEO, you do want to mess with the blogs, be creative and start telling your story. A lot of people that come on these platforms, they want to be hidden. They want to do this faceless stuff a lot, Favour, a lot. And I say, no, you got to tell your story. You got to be a little bit vulnerable. You have to be relatable. Once you're relatable, you start popping up on Google and people start paying attention, it's like this combo effect that you'll see, and it'll blow you out the water. So I'm just proud of everything you're doing here, Favour. I just came to, show you some love, my brother. And if, you guys need my help, I'm here, man. But everything Favor's doing, y'all better listen. Sign up for the call, actually. I need you guys to get some SEO services and resources with Favour. Go through the website, go through the Zap, go through the bio and see what he's got going on, and go support him. We've been on the app for over 6 years, and it's just been amazing to see, people still solid and coming on here and being able to teach individuals and not listening to the noise, right? Listening to the noise in your own house and not listening to the outside noise. So you already know, Favour, I'm proud, bro. We go way back since, XP mentor, media mentor, and I'm just happy that you still have the marketing club where people can come in and actually pay attention, learn, and listen. And if you guys don't know who I am, I own, one of the biggest media agencies right now. It's called Internet Traffic Agency. Also have a podcast as well that I've been trying to get Favour on. We got to plan it, but it's called the Network Podcast. We have over 570 episodes currently. I cover relationship drama, viral news, reactions, and all type of stuff, right? So if you need my help, I'm here, but make sure you guys are supporting Favour and listening to what he's got going on. Favour, you already know, my brother. Let's go.
Let's go. What? Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for being here, man. Yeah, rarely, it's like we barely see each other on the app, but we're connected. It's like we're interconnected. So I'm so glad.
I'm gonna come by and check off your Favour. I got the crazy rooms, right? It's crazy over there. It's crazy, but I also know how to turn it off and come. You know what I'm saying, Favour? That's the good thing about being a chameleon in business, and I want you guys to do that too. And whoever is listening to this, I know how to talk about relationship series stuff and then come back and talk about business, because I'm a chameleon in business. But I've learned that if you keep yourself in a box, Favour, maybe you're keeping yourself in a box that that you don't want to be in, and maybe you're going to see something greater on the other side. I've seen different, income and passive income streams, just being a chameleon, right? Going over to different sides. So do that in business, especially with SEO and stories and stuff. Be a chameleon.
Celeste, you got something to say? Because you got some eyes looking at Stack.
I was just laughing because Stack. Hi, Stack.
Celeste, what's good?
I met Stack a long time ago. We used to be in the Gates Hub, in the Fight for Your Business Hub. And then lately I've seen him in like these salacious rooms. I'm like, what's going on with my boy? Like, what's going on? But I'm glad you explained that. So now I got some context. So glad to see you.
Yep. Relationship series, Celeste, the whole gender wars we doing all relationship topics, and I noticed that people love, the drama. So what I did was I monetized it, and I get paid through ad revenue share at the end of the month. If you guys didn't listen to what Favour was saying, there's something called ad revenue share as you start your podcast. Now I see why there's so many pods, because everybody wants to get up to this level where they're just talking and speaking about whatever they want, and the platform still pays you. So Favour, I'm at that point, bro, where it's just like, all right, I can put out, drama clips, whatever, and it'll still generate the ad revenue share, and it'll go. It's going faster than I would if I would just talk about business. If I stay in business and just talk about that, it'll ramp up. But you know, people like drama, people like love talk, people that stuff's never going away. So I monetized it, ad revenue share.
I
Oh,
love
I get
that.
it. He's like the Mona Scott of Clubhouse. And listen, I've seen the things Mona did. So go ahead. I'm not mad. I love it.
But nah, that's dope. No, I love it. I love it. This is important. You know, we got to think about these things today and ask ourselves, you know, where we are, what we're doing, how we're building, what is the reason why we're even doing what we're doing, and building our podcast, building our website, building our brand to show more visibility for people who want to connect with us. Right now, my podcast now has 660 episodes. Thank you, Stack. And right now it is literally pulling strings. And I'm talking about keyword strings because you're able to also see where your show is ranking, because you can have 10 shows or 10 episodes and 2 may be ranking, 5 may be ranking. You don't know. How do you know? So out of 660 episodes, about 555 episodes are ranking across 1 to 100 keyword positions across 40, 50 plus podcast stations in the world.
And Favour, real quick question: how much work did it take to do that till you started popping up and stuff? Because I really want people to know that's not overnight. Favour did a lot of work. So how long did that take, Favour, to add that, and then you start just, oh shit, I'm on SEO now. How long did that take?
Yo, it took me, at this point where I'm at right now, if I'm just calling it current date, which is day and time evaluation, current date is specifically around 6 years and 9 months. So in 3 months, it's going to be 7 years. So it's going to be 700 episodes in 7 years. And it didn't just happen. It took about 7 years. So what I'm teaching people, what I'm telling people, and streaming across different platforms, and people are listening, they're like, yeah, this is the new future. And you talked about the ad revenues, right? For example, right now I'm in the iOS beta program. So I just updated my program, my app right now before we even joined the house. Before I started the house, I'm in iOS version 26.5. So when 26.4 came out, I remember I talked about it and I said, yeah, Apple Video is coming. And there are going to be some specific platforms because they use something called HLS, when you look at the video codecs. And what I noticed is my platform, because I'm on Art19, that's the same platform, let's say Michelle Obama's podcast is on Art19. It's a very specific platform. There are others. I was on Spotify for creators, and I now moved over to Amazon's network. So I have about over 1,200 brands that are in my stack, no pun intended, stack, on my brand pack that I'm able to connect with. And most recently, the World Cup is coming, right? So Coca-Cola now submitted to my website or to my podcast so that when it's time for the World Cup happening, they can be running ads on my podcast show.
Yo, that's crazy. Yo, Favour, so listen now, please, Favour, tell them how important this is, and it doesn't matter. You guys need to start doing these things. People will reach out to you. These big companies will reach out to you, and Favour, tell me if I'm lying, they'll reach out to you and run ads behind your post and fund it. They'll fund that. You know who hit me up, Favour? I had a random video I put on TikTok. Let me tell y'all the story. I put a random video on TikTok. It was me. I rented a Jaguar, Favour. I just did a couple videos in it. I did, recording the dashboard, whatever. Just POV stuff. Yo, tell me why Jaguar reached out on TikTok and said, we'll fund it up to $5K a month just to have that post on my stuff. That's the type of stuff that's going on out here. That's what Favour's talking about, is these companies will reach out to you and fund you to do things. You understand? So I've had the post up. I'm like, okay, keep the post up and then, accept it. It's like the creator invite stuff that they do. And they'll hit you up between posts to see if it's valid for different things. But I had a couple post up just posting lifestyle stuff, Favour. And I had a couple companies just reach out and wanting to fund the stuff. So keep doing what you do. It doesn't matter if your podcast is big, your presence is small, little. They'll still see the value in you and book you and fund you and give you the confidence to still be a creator. You could be a small one, medium, little, it doesn't matter. These things are possible for everyone nowadays. And then also, Favour, I want to talk about Instagram has a fast creator track program right now, just putting everybody on. You guys can go to the fast track creator program and start posting Facebook reels and Instagram reels, and they'll pay you up to $5,000, I think, a month. And no requirements either. So if you guys look on your professional dashboard on Instagram, if you're a creator, go look at the Fast Creator Track program that's going on right now that'll allow you to post Instagram reels and Facebook reels. As long as your accounts are connected to each other, you can post up to 10 videos. They'll give you like a 30-day month span, and then they'll pay you. You don't have to have a big following. You don't have to have millions of views to do this. They're just making it accessible for you. I just wanted to put everybody on. Go ahead, Faye.
Love that, man. Thank you so much for bringing that in. It's so true because when you think about how much these companies are spending on ads, it's ridiculous. Like Shopify. I always confuse the two, Shopify and Spotify, because I'm both in music and business websites. Shopify spend, I won't give you the exact number, but they benchmark around over 200 million a month, $200 million a month on ads. That's the benchmark, bro. So when I hear these numbers and you think about how many podcast shows are available in the market, it's like saying, hey, we have grants for da 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 da. And then if your business is eligible, you can apply. So if you're not eligible, you cannot have an approved proposal. So if you have a business and your business is available to market and you can actually connect with these businesses and also have your podcast either dynamically processed or baked in or host read, however you want to do it, and it's possible, you're going to get those credit memos. It will be saying, hey, credit, 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 credit. And it's just happening consistently. And before you know it, you're like, okay, now we're looking at these podcast downloads and we're actually seeing the results. And how do you even determine a podcast download? A podcast download is determined by when one user plays your track or plays your audio or video, depending on what server you use, and plays it for at least 45 seconds. So if you have played this track or played this episode for at least 45 seconds, that's one download. Now, and if you look at podcast downloads, there's another layer, or I can say there's another sphere, which is called unique listeners. And unique listeners is more than podcast downloads. More often than not, it's always podcast downloads more than unique listeners, because it's kind of like saying, what are my impressions and what are my clicks? Who opened my email, who clicked on my email? It's the same difference. So if you do the same thing and you consider your titles, consider your emails, consider your tags, consider your topics, even on your website, there's something called podcast schema. I won't go too much into that, but that's also schema markup language for your podcast. So imagine if your podcast show is showing up on your website and somebody goes to Apple and they click on your show website at the bottom of your podcast show, and you can also see other suggested podcasts like yours, and you see top brands that are also being suggested. Like my podcast is called We Don't Play. So you can go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com or click the link above and you'll see it there if you scroll down, or just go to your favorite podcast player and listen to it. And you realize that at the bottom on Apple, you'll see other suggested podcast shows. They're there. So when you create these things for communities, it's not a one-stop shop. It's not a cookie cutter thing. I'm not even, let me say it this way, I'm not running to a finish line. There's no finish line. This is a marathon. Life is literally how we determine it based on what we put in today. I stopped counting at some point when I first started, because I was like, okay, how am I going to keep counting all these numbers? 59, 60, 61. It was stressful. I said, you know what? I'll just keep going. And then I realized, oh, this is actually a business, because now I took my podcast from just turning it from just reviews to talking about different things. Like I was also talking about my music, because I'm also a musician. I make jingles. Every season you hear a new jingle because I produce music. I'm a self-taught drummer. So I'm able to make music, produce
I
it.
didn't know that, Favour. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got music on Apple. music, Spotify. I'm everywhere. So I've been in the entertainment business industry for a quarter of a century now, and I'm like, okay, 25 years. I'm just moving into the sphere of business because, after doing my master's in entertainment business, I said, okay, it's time to really understand how I can take this differently from just not having music, but how can I push out podcasts? How can I push out
So,
content?
so favorite, can
Hmm.
you tell them too? I want to build on this with you. How does being in the, because now I know this. Now me and Favor, he didn't even tell me this, but when I first got on Clubhouse, I got signed to it with a distribution deal, and then I took off with the record label and started the business stuff. So we had the similar journey. But tell them, please, Favor, how important that the podcast and then having music goes hand to hand. Because when I started the podcast from being a producer and doing music, it just felt like me having my own record label, kind of, right? Favor, like, oh, I get to produce, I get to say stuff, I get to do my music. Like, you get to promote yourself. And you know what I've done, Favor, that you're probably gonna want to do? I've been dropping music exclusively through my podcast. You understand? Yeah, you like that. Look, Favor, I'm dropping music, and yeah, I'm doing an episode. Yeah, welcome back to the network part. And bang, I'm dropping Stack Pack music. This is an exclusive episode. Y'all can't get this music nowhere else. And if you want to play it, you got to stream it here and run the ad revenue share up. You can't go download it. You can't get it on SoundCloud. There's an episode on my music. But how important is that, Favor, having that hand in hand, right? Like, it just feels like you own a music freaking superpower. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels amazing. But can you tell us the
Now,
transition
what
from that, brother?
music superpowers? I don't mean to interrupt y'all because y'all are talking in a really nice way, but music superpowers is a very controversial topic. So, for example, there's that funny episode of Sopranos where their friend works with music record labels looking for some kind of compensation because, a lot of musicians don't get their work just gets sold by other people, and it's a often really punishing thing. The last thing I did, which was considered pro-social, was work with the music industry while an employee of the University of California, Los Angeles, which so I'm telling you from the point of view of American government. When I was an employee registered with that employer of California, I worked with private interests in the music business nearby in Los Angeles and was seen as helpful. But what is a music superpower?
Let me tell you right now, Andrew. So when I got in, right, if when I got in the game, when I got signed with I didn't. And what's crazy is I didn't. I'm so glad that I didn't sell the rights away, Andrew. I kept all my rights. So when you get a distribution deal, you don't sell your music. You kind of keep your rights and just distribute through the company. So that's why I said the distribution. Didn't want to really get too big. Didn't want to be the next biggest star. I'm good as long as I can make money, have passive income, and release music whenever I want it. That's what I really cared about. I was saying the music superpowers because Favor has a lot of experience inside of the music game, and him coming over to the podcast is kind of similar because we play music over here, but we talk more. So it was kind of like he had a lot of experience. I was kind of exaggerating a little bit, Andrew, but I was saying music superpower because he has, a lot of, power and experience over there. Now he can transition it into the podcast because it's the same thing. We're just talking. Maybe we'll do some jingles. Maybe we'll do some voiceovers. It's kind of the same artwork form. That's why I said music power. You get where I'm coming from, Andrew?
Oh, right. I hear it. It's just that, for example, there's like relative pitch versus perfect pitch, right? I'm pretty good with relative pitch, but perfect pitch, there's some people who say, oh, I was born with this gene for perfect pitch. There's medicines people take to improve their pitch perception. The common one is valproic acid, which people actually can use to improve their pitch matching ability. Some people get music superpowers because it's a dangerous, thing to. Music is not like a. They told me in LA that music is all. You should just imagine everything in the music industry is coming from math. They told me all the music in LA is just math underneath, because that's what I was doing for UCLA. I was a math grad student, but I do. There's sometimes it's like one thing, like hackathon, one or Musemath. It's like one thing that hasn't been divided yet into two different categories. And there's world music. World music involves all this ethnic type of influences. And I was, for example, taught music of North America and Appalachia, and the folk music of the British Isles. And you know, I don't know.
No,
What
that's no, Andrew. That's awesome. I was saying that, and then also to add on to the music power stuff, Favor. I got the Internet Traffic Agency and the Internet Traffic Magazine, which goes hand in hand, and we feature a lot of people in the industry. That's like hip hop. Maybe they're doing R&B, Afro beats. So that's what I was saying. Like sometimes when you do create these outlets and these resources for people, they will, consider it maybe a superpower, a music superpower in the game, because I built up this platform for so long that does, marketing, podcasting, all of this stuff, and you can come here and get a one-stop shop. So sometimes, you do create that outlet for this music power and this music, specialty. So that's why I meant, Favor, having this platform, having what you have going on, the marketing club. This can be a superpower inside of the music industry because everyone needs marketing. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yes, Celeste, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to chime in because I had a thought before we get way, 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 way far away from the subject. First, I really love the conversation. Maybe I can host a room on music and the underlying, things revolving around that. And especially in relation to marketing, because I would love to sign up for that. Stack, you had asked Favor a really good question. And the more I'm listening to y'all talk, I wanted to
That'll be
make
dope, right?
sure
Yeah, you want to get to
that
that, right?
we did it. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we didn't get too far away. Yeah,
Yeah, I
he had
remember the
asked you
question.
about, how long did it take you to basically build what you built and get this SEO success with your podcast? And Favorite is so humble, y'all. He's like, oh, well, I started this 7 years ago. I want to make sure that everybody didn't miss the message there. Favor, as much as humble as he is, yes, he built a highly successful podcast in 7 years. But guess what? Because he went through the trials and the errors and the fails and all the testing, it doesn't have to take you 7 years. Favor did not have a favor. I'm sure you can agree with this. Favor did not have a favor when he was like, oh, I want to start a podcast. So many of us struggle and struggle and struggle because we will not, click this link that's up here and just book a simple call with someone who has already been through the process. And I will admit, starting my business, I didn't really understand the value of that. It took me so long to get to just like one success because I was just stubborn. Like, I was like, oh, I can figure it out, right? Even Stack, I'm sure he can agree. When he first started his business, did he have a stack to say, hey, I've done this?
Ooh, we lost you, Celeste.
I think she cut out. She's in the matrix.
Nah, she definitely cut out, Favor. Celeste, where you at? We trying to hear you.
Mm-hmm. Before she dropped.
But now I can
Okay, you're
just,
back.
yeah.
We lost you.
Oh, sorry. I'll land my plane with just saying, moral of the story. Hey, sorry, y'all. Ooh, can't wait till daycare opens back up next week. Um, the moral of the story is just, take advantage of people who are pretty much at your digital fingertips that have already built the thing that you're trying to do. So you don't have to struggle year after year after year. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Celeste. Yeah, you got me thinking 7 years is a full grown child. And it's very important to think about where it's going after, especially when you've gone through so many trials and errors. Because when I started my podcast, I remember my RSS feed, a really simple syndication feed, that's what it's called. It got compromised. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe it was music, maybe it was uploads, maybe it was, I don't know. But that was when I was starting my podcast, initially before even what I have today, which is called We Don't Play. So I don't know if anyone has ever had their RSS compromised or RSS snatched or RSS taken. Because if you say, oh yeah, own your content, and then your content actually is not even available because your RSS is pretty much extinct. That's what happened to mine. So I've gone through it's like I got launched back. You know, an arrow before you launch forward, you gotta launch back or you gotta move back. So I was on the tactical defense side of I can say content because I didn't know exactly how I was going to move forward. It's happened with my music. I remember back in 2009 when I was making music, literally the weekend after I finished in the summer, there was a robbery that happened the weekend before and all my music was taken. Like the whole studio was robbed, including my music. So my whole summer vacation was ruined. This was back in the day, 2009. So I've gone through lost opportunities where I could have gained more then, but that has allowed me to keep going now. That's why digital now is nothing. It's peanuts, because if you can do this, if you could do this before, you can do it now. The only expense that you have to think about for yourself is your time. And that's something I said, you know what? God has given us this time. I'm going to use it wisely. And the reason why I started my podcast is so that my children's children can hear my voice one day. That's the reason why I started my podcast, not even to monetize or to do SEO. That happened in the process of understanding what I'm really here to do with my show. So when I kicked that off, it kicked off and I started understanding my podcast. I started building it from scratch. And then I realized, okay, I'm coming from an entertainment business background. I have an MBA, I have an MS. Okay, how am I going to use my graduate program, my business administration, my entertainment business? I did an undergrad in communications and media with a minor in peace and conflict. So how am I able to connect all these little dots to one single point that can be understood, comprehended, and applied through practice and applied practice? So that's when I decided to be more intentional with my podcast, year 1, year 2, year 3. So I was like, okay, I even got to a point when I look at my show, I had a dip. There was a time I was not even podcasting. I think it was year 3 or 4. I dropped way less episodes than I did in the previous year. And I was like, wow, if I kept going and I was going less and less and less, I wouldn't be on Clubhouse today. I started Clubhouse or joined Clubhouse November 24th, 2020, because I wanted to expand my podcast and connect with people in real time. I'm doing that already with my music, but I was like, why can't I do that? I play the drums at my church. I play drums in person. I'm very musically inclined. I'm very, I'm a kinesthetic learner. That's me, because I taught myself how to play the drums, how to swim, how to cook, how to do a lot of things. So I'm able to know left-handed, okay, I got to do this. I got to think a little bit closer to the point, understand exactly why am I even doing this in the first place. And then I'm able to understand and justify my moves by understanding exactly what my intention is for the person that's going to listen to me. So for me, this is more documentation than just trying to get to the finish line, because there's no finish line. So my podcast kicked off, and 7 years in now, I'm still learning so much. And I'm like, okay, a lot of people are starting their podcasts. Why do you want to start your podcast? People say they want to improve brand awareness. People say they want to convert leads. Some people say they want to monetize, but not many people say they want to connect. Some do, but majority don't, because they're looking at what is in it for them as opposed to what can I use my time for and do for you, like I'm doing here on Clubhouse. I'm spending time with you. I started this room at 12 o'clock, 12:15 or so. It's almost 2 p.m. It's 1:59 p.m. Central Time. So the time I'm spending, I know for a fact it's helping someone out there. I'm not just spending time because I have time to spare. It's because I know that this time I'm spending is quality time. It's a love language. So when you are expressing that through your time, it says a lot about your consistency and about where your heart is. They say the treasure of your heart lies where your focus is. I'm paraphrasing. And what you focus on grows. When you pay attention to things, you pay attention because you're paying for it. That's why it says pay attention. You pay with currency, and the currency is time. So whatever you're going to invest money-wise, that's not going to amount to how much time you can actually benefit or rebuild. So when I look at the question you asked me, Stack, thanks for love, Luan. When you look at everything, because I've been in film, I've done TV screens, I've played Broadway, I've played the drums for West Side Story, if you're familiar with that classic film. And I've done that before. I play the drums. I've done sequences. I'm sure you've watched Drumline, the movie, the classic. And all these things have happened in the past. And, you look back, you're like, wow, all these things are going on with my music. When I dropped my last LP, it was 19 tracks. And I dropped that in 2019. And that's when I started my podcast. So I literally used every track. So literally I have 19 songs times 2. That's 38. So I had 38 links available to reference 19 tracks. That's what I did with my podcast. So every track in the beginning, I would talk about behind the lyrics. And I'll be talking about what happened behind the lyrics before the song came out. And that's what I was doing early in the beginning of my podcast show, before I started having guests and before it is what it is today. So when I look at film, when I look at podcast, when I look at music, there's one common denominator between all three. And this is it. It's your IMDb rating. And it makes a lot of sense when you look at it from the context of database and not just points. Because we can talk about the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tony. You can talk about all these different awards, right? Because they have points attributed to them, based on categories, based on genres. If there's a podcast award show, there are things for that because there are specific categories that match different competition ranges. So if I look at my podcast, your podcast should have a good IMDb rating. So when Stack was mentioning, like, what is the difference between having all these things and putting it into one? It's your IMDb rating on your podcast. And you can tell what it is because if there are 4.7 million podcast shows in the world and less than 600,000 podcast shows are active, and then within those active podcasts, you have a genre of episodes that are within a specific category because you have something called shared keywords. Meaning that if I'm talking about SEO and Celeste is talking about SEO and we both have a podcast about SEO, we both share keywords about SEO. So there are other people that do the same thing too. And that's going to be considered on how best you're able to show up for people based on your title. We talked about it yesterday, how to get discovered on a podcast. You can listen to wedon'tplaypodcast.com for that. So if you think about your timing and how you're able to structure your maps and you want to get discovered on search engines, then you have to think about your consistency. And that's going to play a big role in how much time you deliver and how much time you give. Joe Rogan is not top podcaster in the world because he's just there. He has hours of bandwidth. He has hours of time he's spent that he can't get back. But he was able to document that time, just like Stack is documenting that with music, with relationships, with information people are talking about daily. So when you hear about all these things and you wonder, okay, what category, what genre, what do people like? It's different. When people also get to know how they listen to you, how you listen to them, it's better. If I know that you're listening to me because you're driving or you're listening to me because you're working, then that productivity is going to be played by how best it's described in the beginning of our conversation. It's so important to think about this too. And I'll say this last thing before I come to you, Alex. When it comes to music, because I see your question, I'd love for you to share with the room too. When it comes to music, right, we all love music. Some people listen to podcasts more than music. Some people listen to music more than podcasts. Either way, you listen to something. You might listen to rain sounds. You might listen to bird chirps. Whatever it is, you might listen to sound baths. But you listen to something, right? And all these frequencies are happening in hertz. So there was a study that was done, and you can do your research too, that the reason why you go to a 5-star restaurant, for example, or you go to a place that has slow music is because there's a higher chance of you paying more attention to the detail because the beats per minute are between 60 to 80 beats per minute because it's slow tempo. And that's why when you listen, or let's say you're studying a test, you have a test coming and you listen to classical music in the background, that's also going to improve your retentive memory, your retentive activation based on how much information you're able to take in. It's what you give out that you give based on what you get or what you allow in. We are what we eat. You dress the way you want to be addressed. So if you look at that 60 to 80 BPM and you just think about having slow music, even when someone comes to your office and there's music playing in the background and it's slow music, it plays a big deal into your day. We were talking about this, Celeste, I think it was the other day or a couple of days ago. And I was like, have you ever bought something when listening to Drake? You were like, no, because it's pop music. You don't really see people having pop music that's like 100 BPM plus. People are excited, they're bumpy, they're jumpy, they're not trying to purchase. Purchasing takes time. You have to think, you have to type, you have to scan, you have to swipe. That requires focus. So when you think about the psychology and how it actually plays into marketing and where it also applies back into how you get discovered, you have to think about the other person so that when you're serving other people, they also can serve you back in return, right? In relationships, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. Because how you say it is going to create an effect, and how you say it is in the form of hertz. If you were to put what you said and say two things, one shouting, the other one probably yelling, and then the other one you're whispering, and another one you're just talking in normal tone, or another one you're talking when you just woke up or before you go to sleep, the audiogram is going to show you different patterns. It's going to show you different shapes and sizes based on how your waveforms are going to be, your audio waveforms. So why am I giving you all this synthetics? It's because if you look at how you want to get discovered in 2026, you have to focus on the person more than you focus on yourself. And if you focus on the person more than you focus on yourself, then that means that the person that you focused on will focus on you as much as they focus on themselves. It's even in the Bible, love your neighbor as much as you love yourself, and love your enemies too. So if you can't love your enemies, if you can't love your neighbor, if you can't love yourself, how can you show love that you don't have? You can't give what you don't have. So give from a place of giving and not getting, because podcasting feels like, yeah, we just want to talk because we have something to say. When somebody has something to say, and if they say it in the way they should have said it, how they said it, it would have changed the whole mood of the room. So think about how you deliver content in 2026 and how you structure content so that when that connection is made, it's made with a match.
And then Favor, you know what else you said? I just came back in on time. It's crazy. You still talking about podcasting and stuff. Yo, you never know what's gonna be knocking at your door. Make sure you guys be friendly and be friendly with everyone, right? Because I just got off the phone, Favor, with someone that wants to book a month worth of shows. So this is the type of stuff that happens when when you have a podcast show or somebody has a brand and they want to connect it. Now you get opportunities to showcase and highlight brands, right, Favor? And I wanted to also talk about that giving and receiving part you said too, Favor. Is like this, brother. When I first started my show, I didn't expect anything in return at all because I didn't have enough value on there. People didn't know my name on the show yet. Yo, Favor, once I started building it up, more people wanted to come on, and I had a whole list. Now I can break it down and charge it because I have analytics, I have downloads, I have people in different countries. Now I'm getting your voice in different countries. Now you can set this up as something for marketing now. So your podcast will be something where people can come to and use it as a multimedia service. And this is why that's why I wanted to talk about it, Favor, because having a podcast is like a multimedia service. You can run ads, you can talk about people's brands, you can talk about your brand, you can release songs, and don't let me be a creator or a musician. I'm gonna be come on here running this whole thing like it's my record label. That's how it feels, Favor, and that's why I asked you that question, bro, about how does it feel transitioning, or how long did it take? Because once you start getting into this field, you'll be more creative, you'll know that you can do more things, you'll have more range, and you'll be giving back a lot more because you've built yourself up and your skills and the platforms will just give back to you organically. You know what I'm saying? But I had to do a lot of free shows before I got to the point where I was like, yo, I need a ticket for you coming on the radio show. I gave, when Jay and them was on here, Favor, I gave all of them free interviews, bro. And I was doing numbers. You know what that did? And Celeste said it earlier. I don't know if you guys caught it, but Celeste was saying that it shouldn't take 7 years, for Favor had built it up. Favor, when I was doing that free model, when I was just giving back, my show was monetized in 1 month. 1 month, my brother. You understand?
Told brother sister what she said.
Hold up, Asha, I got you. It was monetized in 1 month, Favor, because I was just giving back organically. I wanted people to come on. I was excited about the show. I really wanted to talk about everything. I was giving back. Once I did that, boom, automatic monetization, because there was a lot of people going back to the show, and you need a threshold to get to a certain point for them to even offer you ad revenue or, a supporter club, right? Like, Favor, we haven't even talked about that, bro. I got a whole supporters club where they can subscribe monthly to the show, and that's a different type of revenue than the ad revenue share, because ad revenue share is just clicks. It's like a click per basis. You got your show up, they can go and stream it as long as they listen to it and the ad plays, you're fine. You understand? So just giving back, doing the free shows. I came back right on time, but I had to do a lot of free shows, Favor, to get to where I'm at now, where I'm like, yo, you can't come on my show. You gotta pay a ticket. You know what I'm saying? Because I built it up so much, and there's so many people that's gonna be listening to you. It's going to be a piece of your marketing, and a piece of your, how you grow on your brand. And like Favor was saying, a lot of people are using this for brand awareness. I'm done.
You
Wait. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Favor.
Hold on a minute. I was like, what's going on? Alex wanted to say
She
something.
would never last in gender wars. Favor. She would have been gone.
Bruh, I was like, what's about to happen? We don't know, but we don't need that right now. As apparently people just come up and talk. And I always give people a chance to speak until I'm like, nah, you got to read the room. It's like me walking into your office and talking like crazy. And I have something important to say, but now I say it at the wrong time. There's a right time for everything. So that was crazy. But, that's why we love Clubhouse. Alex, over to you. We'd love to hear what you'd like to share with us. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good conversation overall. I kind of saw a lot of people dropping in the audience, you guys that replays on. So I think it's really important to kind of note a little bit of this. So just real quick, a little bit of my background. I'm in the tech space. I built a SaaS product, basically a two-sided marketplace. So it's food and beverage delivery at stadiums. It's a company called Grabler that I started, and we released that at historically black colleges and universities. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think it's really important. We've been talking about what to do, but I think for some people people are, trying to get ideas and trying to learn about, there's a lot of new tools that are available now that weren't publicly accessible 6 months ago in relation to artificial intelligence and what you can do there. So I think it's really important for people to just take the time to understand why you're doing certain things, because all of these areas are popular, and software and AI and podcasts and websites and all this stuff is good and great. But what I consistently see, specifically when I look at entrepreneurs and people in tech spaces, is that they're reacting to what's available and they don't really have a clear cut direction on why they're doing certain things. So I think it's really important to understand certain problems you're trying to solve, certain audiences you're trying to reach, because it makes it that much more better to target certain things and to kind of know where you're going. That's one of the biggest things that I see, because everyone wants to get out and create something and make money or raise money or do things of that nature. But the kind of those preliminary areas never really got addressed. I just wanted to mention that. I wanted to also mention, because I work specifically with artificial intelligence extensively, and I think this is good for people to hear, because respectfully, AI and all these things and SEO, it can be great. And I think we made an example of this earlier, but nothing can really mask sometimes a bad idea. And sometimes ideas just aren't that worked through, and it just needs more time to kind of structure some things. So I think sometimes people, they take stuff and they run, and it's like, make sure to. I understand this is Clubhouse. I understand everybody wants you to sign an NDA, and you think someone's going to run off with your idea and create it next week. But what I'm saying is that you definitely want to get people to look at what you're doing, and get a couple of different opinions, especially people who are in those industries, in those spaces, because a lot of that's going to help. And that's kind of helped me build frankly, a delivery service that runs at stadiums at historically black colleges and universities. And when I tell that to people, they're like, "Oh my God, that sounds amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, it took me years to develop that. Like, I didn't just come up with that last week." So I just think that it's important to just kind of understand the foundation of a lot of this stuff, because that's something that necessarily we don't really spend a ton of time on. It's assumed that that's kind of in line. But that's a really important part of just, I look at it as just entrepreneurship as a whole. If whatever type of business you want to start, whatever industry you're in, that's kind of a prerequisite. And I do see people, I've seen people who have spent money on studios for podcasts, equipment, all these other things, and like they don't really like podcasting, or they don't really like, you know what I mean? They don't really like what they're doing. And I'm like, so you're doing it to get kind of some quantitative results, but you don't really have a passion for this, or it's not really there for you. So I'll just kind of land my plane with this. I truly do believe everybody has a superpower. There's something that you're good at. There's something that makes you exceptional. It's a matter of finding what that is. And then once you got that lined up, now you can start to structure your business. Now you can start to say, okay, this is what I want to do. It took me 10 years ago when I was working at Yelp, I realized I wanted to start a software company. And so it took time to build that out, and I had to watch other people do what I wanted to do. And then eventually I got to that point. But I just wanted to throw that in there, because I think it's really important. We talk about what you need to do, but I do think it's important to just make sure why you're doing it, and why you want to go down that path is important, because the next 5 to 10 years is going to look very different in the world if it doesn't look different now, starting to shift. um, and there's a lot of opportunity, and people are excited and want to get out there and create. But I do see, and again, I'm working with AI and some Fortune 200 companies with consulting daily, and I'm seeing a lot of the early mistakes that are being made, with just how AI is structured, and people using this tool. And I'm talking about entrepreneurs and also people in the corporate space. So I'm kind of seeing both worlds. That's a conversation for a different time, but just kind of wanted to shed some light on that, to just kind of sprinkle on top of everything that else has been said, just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because I think that's really the reason why we take the time to learn about SEO marketing, because we all have ideas in some way, shape, or form. We're trying to build something. Um, so I'll end my plane with that.
Thank you, Alex. Go ahead,
Uh, th-
Celeste. I was actually going to ask Asan
no,
a
go ahead,
question.
Favor, and I'll hop it next. Go
I
ahead.
wanted to say quickly, because Asan, you said, what about programming? And I'd like to hear, from you, Alex, too, what your thoughts are on that. Because Asan said not everything is passion, and my question is, what is everything if it's not from a place or coming from a place? So people do things for different reasons, different intentions. People that are in relationships don't even love each other, but they're together. So you wonder why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you inflicting pain when you could make a better decision? So many questions involved and everything. So I would love to hear from you, Alex, when it comes to the programming part, so that you can answer Asen's question, and come to you, Celeste, to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I would say simply no, you do not. Passion is not a requirement by no means. But what I will say is that what I've seen is the people who are exceptional have some level of passion behind what they're doing. By no means, you do not need to have that. As not a requirement. It is not something that you need, and it's not something that everybody's going to even notice or even recognize. Um, I'm walking around my condo and I have a picture of Kobe Bryant up on my wall, and you could make the argument that Kobe Bryant was 6'7". He was the average build of a NBA player, and they all played in the league. The difference was Kobe was obsessed. He was obsessed with what he was doing, and he had a level of passion that was higher than other people. And that may not be the best example, but the point I'm trying to get at is that when you find ways to care more and to be more obsessed, and I believe, Favor, you have a level of obsession with SEO that makes you better than most, because you're more detailed and more ingrained than someone who's just kind of checking a box. So that's kind of, maybe that's the better example I should have gave here instead of talking about athletes. I think that's a good tell sign of that. And I'm just saying that when you do that, and again, I'm in the tech space, building products, pitching in front of investors and venture capital. When you sell on, hey, I started this because, and I think Stack mentioned earlier about telling a story. And when you tell a story and there's passion behind your story, that can almost sell whatever product or service or whatever it is you do before you even get to the product and service, is how much I care about it. So to answer that question, is passion needed? Absolutely not. You can get up there, you can check boxes, you can do the satisfactory job, and all is well. But when you insert passion into it, now you're exceptional. Now you're a standout. And now, in my opinion, you have a brighter shine on you than other people who are doing the exact same thing. And that gives you a competitive advantage, just from my perspective.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate you for that. Yeah, it's very important. I'm passionate about SEO and really connected with this. And I talk about it. It's not like I'm trying to do SEO. Some people talk about SEO and you can see that they're not even excited. You're like, what is SEO? And it's like somebody dragged you to the camera. But you should be passionate about what you do. If you cook good, if you love to cook with passion. You can cook a meal and not have a care in the world for how it tastes, but you know that it's a plate that you can serve. But if you're able to serve that with some TLC, some tender loving care, some spices on it. Some will be like, okay, you really thought about this thing, because I know, okay, you
Some of
might
that
not like
grandma
spices.
food,
You know what
Favor.
I'm talking about? So you can't beat that. It comes with that love. Even when you're loved on, it shows, hey, does this person love me, or this person using me because of what I have, or because of that's who I am? So it plays a big role, and people can smell that from a mile away. So it's at some point it's just gonna be sniffed out. So it's just a matter of time. Celeste, we'd love to hear your thoughts too.
First of all, Favor, you must got a lot of time today because we gonna be in this
Now
room
we got
all
9 minutes
day.
left.
I love the conver. Oh, okay, good. Because I'm like, God dang, we done went from this subject to that subject, but I'm really loving this conversation. And this reminds me of the old Clubhouse days. We used to literally have this debate about passion versus profit. Any of y'all remember that? Like, it used to be an ongoing thing
Mhm.
all the time. So that is such a good like question. And also, Alex, I caught the shade about that's what I was originally going to comment on when you said, "Oh, not every business idea is a good idea." Like, some people have bad business ideas. Oh my gosh, I was cackling so loud on mute. If you need any data on that in the audience, y'all know how many people started businesses during COVID and stopped them. It's crazy, the numbers. Like, if you go and look at the numbers, it is astronomically just like telling. But as far as passion versus profit, my little 2 cents on that, I don't care what anybody says, you have to have some level of passion when it comes to what you do. Because now I know there are some outliers here, but most of us, when we start a business, we are not making a profit right away. You're not, okay? It is really, really hard building a business. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, you can do this in AI and blah, 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 and it's easy. No, okay. Most people, it is going to be hard in the beginning. So if you do not have that passion to drive you through those profitless days, you're going to quit, period. I've seen it over and over and over and over again. But if you have some passion that is going to drive you through like the times where you're like, oh, damn, you know what? This is hard, but I'm going to keep going because I can see like this light at the end of the tunnel. Those are the businesses that survive. Okay. I remember I started this business just because I was like, ooh, I need some money. Like, this is a good idea. But guess what, y'all? I didn't like doing it. And so when it got hard, I was like, oh, nah, like I can't do this no more. And I quit. But my current business, it has a lot of like, I like to do it. Like, there's a lot of like there. So even when it's hard, I keep going. So that's my little 2 cents, just keeping, grasp of time. But I really appreciate you hosting this room because it's helping me do a lot of work in the background. So thank you, Favor. And get input, Alex. Definitely come back to the room. I love your thoughts. And also, that food looks super bomb in your profile pictures. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Celeste. You just reminded me about asking Alex a question before we go. This is unrelated to SEO, but it's going to be something that I'm excited about. I don't know what's happening, but I got to check. Alex, Madrid or Bayern today? I don't know if you're a Madrid fan, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Madrid. I got some Madrid jerseys, so I'm gonna kind of go with Madrid.
I just wanted to, because I saw the Madrid, and I was like, yeah, we both go tie to tie every season. So I was like, yeah, let me just check in with you. Appreciate you on that. Thank you so much. Nah, it's definitely exciting to be here with you guys and share this moment, because this is where we get to learn more, create more opportunities, become more intentional. How do we do things in a way that we can help more businesses out there and show up with branding? Because the things that we love to cook, the things that we love to do, sports, it says a lot about us. How you sign up for a job or you get hired at a job, not because of your hard skills, but because of your soft skills, because you're a patient person, you're a teamwork, you smart, you're a fast thinker, you're doing things that are outside of the norm. So when you're outstanding, like you said, Alex, it changes everything, and that way you're able to become a better version for yourself and also for the person that you're serving too, in whatever capacity. The Roots, thanks for being here. We'd love to hear a question
And then,
or
and
thought
then, real
before we
quick,
go.
Favor, before we go too, bro, I want to know about like the dead businesses because Celeste had a good thought on that. How many businesses were started and then didn't thrive? Right? It didn't thrive. It didn't get to the next level. It didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. I think I just had to agree with Celeste about having the passion. If you don't have passion behind what you guys are doing, then nothing's ever gonna work. Like you said, Favor, people will sniff it out and be like, damn, you look boring. This is boring. There's no energy in the episode, especially because it's all audio, what we're doing nowadays, right, Favor? So it's like when I'm listening to audio, when I'm listening to podcasts, I listen to how energetic the person is. And if the person isn't energetic or the story isn't good, I'm not gonna want to dive deeper to see who you are. You know what I'm saying? So it's about your story, telling it good, but then also having substance in the story where people are relating. That's how you know, get to, you can pop up on SEO, but it's like, what is that going to tell? What is that story going to have? What is it going to relate to the person? Is it going to hit any pain points? So I just wanted to add on that, Favor. And then, yeah, shout out to The Root for coming through.
Thank you so much, Dak. Appreciate you for that. The Root, we'd love to hear you as well. What's up? What you got for us?
Rich Rising. Good afternoon, everybody. I kind of just walked in, so I'm not really sure
No,
what was going on. I'm so
I
sorry.
dragged her in here, Favor, to come support you. I want you to talk about just SEO. Like, what have you learned from Google? Because I know you're working with an artist right now, and I just want you to talk about like maybe experience or Google or what you're seeing with any marketing, and then maybe Favor can add on before he leaves or
Well,
anything like that.
I can compare really quick. Favor is the reason why I started using SEO bios and titles in my podcast episodes. So I actually have been comparing the ones that didn't have SEO titles or bios compared to what I have now, and the ones with those titles and bios do get a lot more views compared to the other ones. Like I'm still small when it comes to podcasting, but I do see the difference in numbers. So I can say SEO is a total, it works, it does its thing, but that's all I know right now is just like the basic stuff, just from what I've heard Favor talk about.
Wow. Thank you
Wow.
so much. Oh my goodness. I did not see this coming. That's like
Yeah.
Come on, Favor.
I wanted to catch you and tell you that, but I haven't really been able to see you and tell you. But yeah, that made a big turning point for me, especially with like SEO as a total. Those titles, they make a difference, and I use like different options. So I can say it definitely grabs people's attention, considering they're like keywords that people are always looking up or always want to find out more about. You always want to use those eye-grabbing words, and they make a difference.
Thank you
Fire.
much for that, The Root. I've always said this, I want someone else to say it without me saying, because sometimes I'm like, am I a soundboard? Am I making sense? Are people listening? And then when I hear this, I'm like, whoa, oh yeah, for sure. People are listening. People are doing it. And I'm happy because this makes me happy because it makes the world a better place. Now more people can find you, connect with you, have more opportunities. 7 years ago, I wasn't doing what you're doing now. So it's like you have a jetpack now, because you've been able to go through those, you know what I mean? So I'm grateful, that I'm able to be that person for the people that need this type of information, because eventually it's going to work. You may not get there now, but when it happens, you'll be like, I'm glad I started. So I'm really happy that you guys have come in today and share this love with me on this amazing day called Taco Tuesday. So thank you for being here with me, everyone. Thank you so much, Celeste, Stack, Alex, The Root, Luan from being here in the beginning, Diane, Steph, MS, Serbi, Ryan, No Carbs, Shade, Kardesh, Tasha, Thoria, Aseye, Asan, thank you for the question in the chat. That was really good. Appreciate you as well for the coins. Thank you so much for that, Luan. Asma, Offset, Robin, Melody, Shakti, Ananta, Mohammed, thank you for being here. Shahim, and also happy Clubversary. That's what we call it out here because you have a balloon. So happy Clubversary to you.
Fire room. That was a fire room.
You know what I'm talking about? Hey, Ayana, thanks for being here too. You guys are really making my day, and I'm really happy we're able to share these moments together. We'll definitely talk about this again, and I'll be here again tomorrow, and we're going to talk about how to get discovered, and I'll talk about something else, not just search engines and podcasts, but also other things that are also going to help your business grow and also give you that, I can say, light years ahead mentality, which is what we all need. So I learn more from you more than you learn from me. So I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here. If you want to connect, please click the link above. If you want to get emails that I send out, the link is available above. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn or here on Clubhouse. The best thing you can do here if you want to stay connected is click on my face, tap on the three dots, go to notification settings and turn it to always, so that anytime I'm talking or speaking here, you're able to get a notification and you're here with me so we can talk about this and make it happen. So until we meet in the next room, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next room. Welcome to season 13, where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. A lot of information is always given on this show. So, we're in the 13th season. God has brought us so far, and I just want to thank God for the opportunity to connect with you today on such quiet, calm space like this. So thank you for listening. Know that Jesus loves you, and know that you can always connect with me on the We Don't Play Podcast show. More specifically, go to WeDon'tPlayPodcast.com, or you can go to playinc.online. That is PLAYINC.online, and get in touch with me. Let's get on a call. Let's talk. Let's focus on SEO for 2026 and beyond. So until we meet in the next episode, God bless you. Jesus loves you. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and stay blessed, and stay tuned. Bye for now.